Imagine a world where the most powerful book, a collection of ancient texts believed to hold the secrets of the universe, was not a single, cohesive volume but a sprawling library of individual manuscripts, each piece a fragment of a larger puzzle. This was the reality for centuries, a time when the Bible, the cornerstone of Christian faith, was a scattered collection of writings, each with its own significance and purpose. The journey from these fragmented texts to the single, comprehensive volumes we know today is a tale of monumental effort, innovation, and transformation. It is a story of how the Bible evolved from a collection of sacred texts to a unified, authoritative book that shaped cultures and civilizations. For a long time, the concept of a complete Bible was nearly unheard of. Most Bibles were not single books, but collections of individual manuscripts, each containing a portion of the Scriptures. These could be the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the wisdom books, or the Gospels. This fragmentation was not just a matter of practicality, but also reflected a deeper theological understanding of the Bible as a library of individual books, rather than a single, cohesive text. The idea of a complete Bible, a pandect, was the exception rather than the rule. One of the earliest and most significant examples of a complete Bible is the Codex Amiatinus, a magnificent manuscript that dates back to the early 8th century, created in the monastery of Wearmouth Jarrow in northeast England. It is the earliest complete Latin Bible to use Jerome's translation, the Vulgate. This massive work was intended as a gift for Pope Gregory II, and it now resides in Florence, Italy. The Codex Amiatinus was a monumental undertaking, likely modeled after a pandect from the library of Cassiodorus, a Roman statesman who became a monk and founded a monastery in southern Italy. Cassiodorus's library contained an impressive collection of Bibles, including a pandect he called the Codex Grandeur, which may have served as the model for the Codex Amiatinus. The Codex Amiatinus is a testament to the dedication and skill of the monks at Wearmouth Jarrow, who spent years meticulously copying the text. It stands as a bridge between the fragmented manuscripts of the past and the complete Bibles of the future. The creation of such a comprehensive work required not only a deep understanding of the text, but also a significant investment of time, resources, and craftsmanship. The Codex Amiatinus was not just a religious text, but a work of art, a symbol of the monastery's piety and the wealth of the Christian faith. As the centuries progressed, the idea of a complete Bible began to gain more traction. In the 11th century, a new trend emerged: the creation of enormous Bibles, known as Atlantic Bibles. These were not just religious texts, but also luxury items, often intended as gifts for monasteries. Some of these Bibles were so large that they were divided into multiple volumes, each one a massive tome. Despite their size, many of these Bibles lacked the Psalms and the Gospels, which were usually kept in separate books for liturgical use. The Atlantic Bibles were not primarily intended for study, but rather for display and as sources against which other manuscripts could be checked and corrected. The creation of these enormous Bibles was a labor-intensive process that often required the collaboration of multiple craftsmen, scribes, illuminators and artisans worked together to produce works of exceptional beauty and precision. The marginal notes found in these Bibles, which provided instructions to scribes, are a testament to the meticulous attention to detail that went into their production. Despite their size, these Bibles were not just ornamental. They served a practical purpose in the monastic communities where they were used. By the late 12th century, the need for more portable Bibles became apparent, particularly with the rise of the new religious orders of friars, such as the Franciscans and Dominicans. These orders, founded in 1209 and 1216 respectively, were characterized by their itinerant nature, traveling from place to place to preach and spread the word of God. The development of thinner vellum and smaller handwriting made it possible to produce Bibles that were small enough to be carried in a pocket. These portable Bibles were not just for the friars. They were also produced for a growing literate market, reflecting a broader demand for access to the Bible. The production of these Bibles was a significant shift in the history of the book. While earlier Bibles were often produced in monastic scriptoria, the portable Bibles of the late 12th and early 13th centuries were often commercially produced. This shift marked the beginning of a more secular approach to book production, with Bibles being sold as commodities rather than created solely for religious purposes. The commercial production of Bibles also meant that they were more widely available, reaching a broader audience and contributing to the spread of literacy and religious knowledge. The 13th century saw the creation of some of the most innovative and visually stunning Bibles of the medieval period. One of the most notable examples is the Bible Moralissae, a lavishly illustrated manuscript that combined biblical narratives with moral and allegorical interpretations. These Bibles were often commissioned by the French and Spanish aristocracy and royalty, and were intended as luxury items. Each page of a Bible Moralissae contained 8 medallions, 4 depicting scenes from the Old and New Testaments, and 4 providing moral or allegorical interpretations of those scenes. The illustrations were often accompanied by brief captions in French or Latin, making the Bibles accessible to a wider audience. The Bible Moralissae was more than just a religious text. It was a visual guide to understanding the deeper meanings of the Bible. The illustrations often drew connections between Old and New Testament stories, using typological parallels to highlight the continuity between the two. For example, the story of the near sacrifice of Isaac might be paired with the crucifixion of Christ, emphasizing the theme of obedience to God. The Bible Moralissae was a product of a time when the Bible was seen not just as a collection of historical events, but as a rich source of moral and spiritual guidance. Another significant development in the 13th century was the creation of the Bibliae Pauperum, or Bible of the Poor. Despite the name, these Bibles were not intended for the poor, but for the literate middling classes and clergy who needed to preach on the Bible. The Biblia Pauperum focused on the mystical and meditative dimensions of the text, using illustrations to enhance the reader's understanding of Christ's life and the typological parallels between the Old and New Testaments. These Bibles were often produced in German-speaking areas and combined Latin and German text, reflecting the multilingual nature of the medieval world. The Biblia Pauperum was a more accessible and user-friendly version of the Bible. Designed to help readers engage with the text on a deeper level, the illustrations provided visual context for the biblical narratives, making the text more relatable and easier to understand. The inclusion of biblical references also allowed readers to cross-reference the illustrations with the actual text, fostering a more interactive and immersive reading experience. The evolution of the Bible in the medieval period was not just a matter of physical changes, but also reflected broader developments in literacy and book production. Early Latin Bibles were often written without spaces between words, a practice that made reading difficult and could lead to ambiguities. Medieval Bibles introduced spaces and other devices to aid the reader, such as punctuation and chapter divisions. The chapter division, a medieval invention often attributed to Archbishop Stephen Langton, made it easier to navigate the text and find specific passages. The chapter numbers and running heads found in portable Bibles of the 12th and 13th centuries are familiar features to modern readers, reflecting the need for a standardized and convenient format. The rise of the book trade, especially in Paris, played a crucial role in the production of Bibles during this period. The 13th century saw a surge in the number of Bibles produced, indicating a wide literate readership that demanded a standardized and accessible format. The commercial production of Bibles also led to the development of new technologies, such as thinner vellum and smaller handwriting, which made it possible to produce Bibles that were both portable and affordable. Medieval Christian attitudes to the Bible were deeply rooted in the belief that the text was not just a historical document, but a living, authoritative guide to faith and practice. The interpretation of the Bible was a complex and multifaceted process, with commentators seeking to extract multiple layers of meaning from the text. This approach was influenced by the work of early Christian thinkers like Origen, who argued that the Bible had both a literal and a spiritual meaning. Origen believed that where the literal meaning was problematic or absurd, it must be interpreted allegorically, leading to a rich tradition of allegorical interpretation. The medieval period saw the formalization of this approach into a fourfold scheme of interpretation: the literal, allegorical, moral, and anagogical senses. The literal sense referred to the historical and factual content of the text, while the allegorical sense explored the deeper, symbolic meanings. The moral sense focused on the practical applications of the text, guiding readers on how to live their lives, and the anagogical sense looked to the future, often interpreting the text in terms of eschatology or the end times. This fourfold approach provided a framework for understanding the Bible in a comprehensive and multifaceted way, allowing readers to engage with the text on multiple levels. The interpretation of the Bible was not just a matter of personal study, but also a communal and liturgical practice. The Bible was read and studied in monasteries, churches, and other religious settings, where the community came together to engage with the text and understand its meanings. The liturgical use of the Bible, with its emphasis on specific readings and interpretations, played a crucial role in shaping how the text was understood and applied in daily life. The evolution of the Bible from a collection of fragmented manuscripts to a unified, authoritative text is a testament to the dedication and innovation of medieval scholars and craftsmen. The creation of complete Bibles, the development of new technologies, and the formalization of interpretive methods all contributed to the Bible becoming the central text of Christian faith. The Bible's journey through the medieval period reflects the broader cultural and intellectual developments of the time, as well as the enduring importance of the text in shaping human understanding and belief. In conclusion, the Bible's transformation from a collection of individual manuscripts to a unified, authoritative text is a remarkable story of human ingenuity and devotion. It is a story that continues to resonate today, as the Bible remains one of the most influential and widely read books in the world.